What's going on, people? Welcome to United View. Good morning. It's match day, pinch, punch, first of the month. I forgot the last bit.
I thought you would. I thought you would. Sure. I thought you would.
Remember. The 5th. Oh, that's the 5th of November. But anyway, it's the first. Yeah, it's the first. It's the 1st of November. Big up to you lot. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. First of all, because I know everything's a bit negative right now. Welcome to the United View, and we've just hit 156,000 as well last night. But
don't say
it. But you know.
But look, it's like it's dead on. That's why I said
it is dead on. But I believe in you guys here that you're gonna take it over. Flex the sound off. Do I sound a little bit off, or do you mean my persona?
Wow.
Do you mean because I've been annoyed with the team, because I have been, or do you mean the microphone? I did just swap the.
It's fixed itself.
It normally is on. Yeah, is everything all right? Am I out of sync, Ashodu? Audio is off sync with the video. There is a delay in the audio. Delay.
Wow.
Okay. It's fixed now. Okay. Cool. Well, some people still got it. Some people haven't. Maybe just refresh. I'm just trying to have a look. Let me look on my one. What's it saying? Yeah, it's out of sync on mine as well. Maybe we can.
Maybe I can fix this.
Yeah. Do you want to add me back in on that audio thing or not?
Or what if I? Now, do you select your thing? Let's see if this works.
Selected. Let's see if this works. I just selected my thing.
Yeah, I think it might have worked.
Oh, the refresh worked, actually, to be fair.
Yeah. Wow, there you go.
Yeah, we're back. We're back.
There you go. Yeah.
Look at that, though. Straight solutions to the problems. That's what we do.
Yeah.
With, you know what I mean?
Very quick.
But anyway, let's start again. Welcome to the Night View. Welcome to the Morning View. It's
play the intro.
Yes, play the whole intro again. Big game against Newcastle United tonight at Old Trafford. Obviously, the next round of the Carabao Cup. We're going to talk about that. But there's been a lot in the media, as per usual. An interesting article from Sammy Mockbell basically saying that the player power is rearing its head again. And also some of the feelings of the players, which before this came out, it's ironic. I was talking about this yesterday on a Flexing KG show. I know a lot of you tuned in. There was a lot of comments, people getting involved, having their say. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And also Ten Hag's words of affirmation, his fighting talk, really, because he was sort of talking about, we will turn it round. I am certain, a lot of stuff. Some still saying it's out of sync.
You might have to refresh, I think, Flex. I think you might have to refresh.
Okay.
Reflex?
I'll refresh.
Reflex.
You carry on. Is yours not out of sync? Is it just me?
I don't know. I feel like mine maybe isn't.
Okay, you carry on. I'm gonna refresh.
Flex is going to refresh and come back in and come back out. But yes, be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner, all that kind of stuff. Yes. Wow, Daniel Luciano says, Owen, you're perfect per usual. Well, Flecknology often does rear its head. That's all I'll say. Flecknology can often rear its head with Flex early on in the morning. But we'll get there. We'll sort it out, all that kind of stuff. Flex is back immediately.
I'm back immediately. Quick refresh. Am I in synchronization? That's what
I believe so at the moment. I believe so. I said Flecknology is a constant, Flecknology, all that kind of stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it plays out. You have had some computer difficulties recently.
I have. And I can see on my side of the screen, I don't look as crisp as you do as well. But
that's just me in the morning, Flex. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. It's just you in the morning. Oh, I'm getting better now. Synced up like York and Cole. There you go. That's all I need to hear. Right. I don't know where you are, so maybe you should just carry on.
Oh no, I was really padding for time. It's fine.
All right, okay. Well, let's just get to the first story because it's been a shit start to the show. Let's just get to the first story. What is it? Because actually, it's not funny. Actually,
no, it's not funny at all. It comes from the Daily Mail. It comes from Sammy Mockbell. How do you say is it Mockbell?
I say Mockbell. Mokbel, I don't know.
It
Quite
comes
bad. I
from
see him
him.
quite a lot, actually. He's quite a nice guy. I always say that.
Yeah, comes from him, saying that Manchester United players fear head coach Erik ten Hag's abrupt approach is affecting squad harmony. Figures within the Manchester United squad believe ten Hag's handling of certain individuals has had a negative impact on team togetherness. Now, this worries me, Flex. This worries me, not because I necessarily believe the story to be true or anything like that. The reason it worries me is I looked at this and I went, here we go. Like, this is, in terms of the cycle that we've lived through so many times, once you start to hear the grumblings, it makes me concerned. You know, whether it's the training sessions are rubbish, when it comes to, like under Ralph Rangnick with Chris Armas, this guy's American, so he's Ted Lasso. Whether it comes to we have to train in the dark, or when we leave, it gets dark and all this kind of stuff. Once you start to hear those grumblings, it just, you go, that's not good. Now, it could all be nonsense. It could all be hogwash. It could all be just complete rubbish. It could just be journalists that say that United are doing bad. The morale clearly in the squad isn't very good at the moment. Therefore, let's just put something out saying, oh, you know, let's speculate. Because it's not a small jump to make, is it? That you could say the players look devoid of confidence. Ten Hag hasn't really said it, but there's been reports out there previously suggesting that he's frustrated that maybe he can't be as honest and harsh with the players as he would like, saying that their mentality is fragile and frail. And he believes that some of these players that, you know, he wishes he could criticize more openly, he can't. So it's not that big of a jump to say that some of the players still think he's too harsh or he's too, you know, authoritarian, which is quite ironic because just 12 months ago, we're praising him for being authoritarian and quite harsh and honest with some of these players. So what are your thoughts with the story and I guess the possibility of it being valid or not valid?
Yeah, it's a big one, really, this is, because if you skim it down to bare bones, you go back to right to the start, right before Eric came in. We said whenever the time comes where it does get hard and it does get, you know, sticky and bad results and stuff, the hounds will be out and things will be written that we've seen before. Losing control of the dressing room, players don't like the manager, player power. That time is now. That time is now where the little leaks are starting to say little. The leaks are starting to come out. You know, questionable things are starting to be said. However, I can't, because I spoke about this on the Flex and KG show yesterday before this came out. Just because of my observation, I was like, it's not right, because this is the same problem with the players, that they start, you know, either turning on the managers and thinking certain things. I'm not saying everything that Sami Mokbel is saying is bang on, because obviously, like we know, in the media, when things are negative, it helps them write things like this. But I did have reservations yesterday. I'd be a hypocrite to just be like, Sami Mokbel's lying. I can't see what he means. Because even before that was written yesterday, of my observations, I was like, I just reckon there could be some in there that are just looking at it going, don't really feel this. I'm not feeling this. Obviously, players should be on board, fed up of player power. We know that. We've said that many times. But this is just how it works at Man United, because we've seen this happen before many times. So we have to go off the same. The institution's broke. The institution hasn't changed. We keep making the same mistakes. The same negative things keep happening. We've done nothing to stem the flow. So we can't, when it starts to happen, think it's just completely fake, because this is the timeline. This is what happens. The question is, can Erik ten Hag stop this happening? Do you know what I mean? Like, we'll get to some of his quotes later as the second topic, but the only way to stop the rut is winning. Winning is the only currency that does it. Winning is the only currency that builds confidence. Winning is the only currency that brings belief in the manager's methods, in the manager's decisions. So you get rid of that guy, get rid of that guy. Well, no one can say anything because we're like second, mate. We're flying. No one can say anything. We're playing good football. So he was justified in doing this. Now, again, they don't have to be mutually exclusive. They both can be right. Just because you've made decisions and they haven't worked, that doesn't definitely mean they're the wrong decision in the long term when you get to where you want to get to. you look back and you go, that was some short-term pain for making that decision, this tactic, that sub, this, that, and the other, going through a bad run of results then. But look at us now. That's what he's hoping for. The success stories. Obviously, players come back from injury, etc. But I would feel naive to see that and go, it's all that is 100% all the media just trying to lie on us. I don't believe that. There is some truth in that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I do think that there most likely is a kernel of truth at the minimum. You know, as we always say, panning for gold. There is probably a germ of truth involved in that story. But then you would also say, Ten Hag's being too harsh on us. Ten Hag's criticizing us too much. You should. You've been shit. Yeah. Like, as a manager, if you're watching your team put in subpar performances or players put in subpar performances, then what do you expect them to do? Yeah, it's all right, mate. You know, it's fine. It's not fine. Things are not fine at Man United. And, you know, then you get back into the Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville debate of going, it's a bigger cultural issue, which clearly it is. And it rots from the head. Totally get that. But as we have said also, on a day-to-day basis, when you're on the pitch, when the whistle blows and you're playing 90-plus minutes, you know, all of that other louder stuff goes out the window, and you have to control what you can control, and that's your own performances. And you can say, oh, the manager's being too harsh, or is being too strict, and it's affecting squad harmony. As you mentioned, what affects really squad harmony is you're winning football matches. Are you playing to the best of your ability? And realistically, if you're saying that, oh, I'm not playing very well this season because the manager's being too strict with me, is that what we're really saying? You know, oh, it's that he's upsetting us because he's telling us the truth that we're not playing very well, or that we're being, you know, prima donnas about certain issues, or you know, we're upset about, you know, treatment of our friends, even though actually, yeah, granted that you've got friends, but ultimately it's football, it's work. At the end of the day, it's business. You're there to get paid. You're there to do your job. You're there to win. You know, damned about your treatment of your of your best friend, or someone, in the case maybe David De Gea is not even at the club anymore. Oh, that's terrible. And you know, I feel like that's affecting squad harmony. Get over it. Quite frankly, you know, get over it, because you should all your intention should be is to win, is to be successful. And then the stories like this then start getting into the territory of pointing at, it gets into the sort of excuses territory again, isn't it? Why aren't you playing very well this season? Oh, the manager's being quite, you know, harsh on us. You know, what's the results been at the moment, though? Well, we've played 10 games in the Premier League. We've lost 5. We won 5. What? And that's because the manager's being harsh on you. Is that what you're really saying? You're always, wow, affecting squad harmony and all that kind of stuff. As you mentioned, what really affects squad harmony are you winning games. Are you winning games? Are you playing to the best of your abilities?
It's the only currency.
Because a lot of players there, they aren't. And if they want, and then if you want to start getting into territories of, wow, the manager, wow, the takeover, wow, this, wow, the kit. You know, yesterday.
So I mean, it's just shifting the blame to every single other thing.
Tight. You go, where's the accountability? Where's yourself? Where's your own pride and performance? You know, and then again, like when I see stories like this, it concerns me, because we get into that sort of blame game again, don't we? We get into that blame game where it's, you know, it's the Ralph Rangnick training sessions, it's the American coach, it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not a very good manager, and he's just vibes. It gets into Jose Mourinho, he's too harsh. It gets into Louis van Gaal, he's too old school and he's too regimented. It gets into David Moyes, he's too inexperienced. And eventually you have to say, why do you keep looking externally, and why don't you look internally into yourself, into your own performances? Because ultimately, some of them might be valid, but it just comes across as excuses.
Yeah, I think, look, because we always look, I think you stated it before, many of us have, like, we always try to, like, pinpoint one thing, one specific reason why we're in this mess. And, like, there's just so many reasons. Like, I keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. Like, there's so many reasons why Man United are bad. But the manager, right, is up there on that, though, because you have to be able to show, some you have to be able to show something. Like, I get it. I've said about the injuries a lot of time, because I think as soon as you suggest the thing on Eric's side, the immediate defense, like immediate blanket, is Man United overpay for players and Man United got injuries. And then you make all these comparisons, say if any other team had this much injuries, of course there'd be shit. That's the instant blanket without even trying to hear the other side, because that is some of that is absolutely valid. Of course, if you lose Luke Shaw, Varane, Martinez for large periods, Wan-Bissaka, you know what I mean, for large periods, and buy 2 injured players in Amrabat and Højlund, like that's going to make a difference. Of course it is. I'm not saying that. But that's, again, though, part of the skill set you're supposed to have as a manager. To basically, this is a really tough time. So let's show something. Let's show some being compact. Let's show some resilience, you know. And even, let's be honest, when we did, like I said, when we did have everyone fit, right? We haven't been playing well for ages.
Yeah,
like
since
March.
beginning of the year.
Yeah, like all
know.
beginning of the year. Well, probably January, February. Yeah, January, February was not too bad, and we were like, actually, I tell you what, going into that, when did we play Crystal Palace and Arsenal in the same week? That week?
Well, we played Barcelona in around February time, didn't we?
Yeah, so it's a little bit before that. We were doing all right, to the point where we thought, you know what? Some people were daring to say title charge. Yeah, we all got a bit carried.
But you could see the future. This is what we build upon. This is what we have to do.
And with the same players, with the same team, we're given a pass. Like that bit of the season hasn't rolled into this. And then obviously the injuries has made it even worse, which is what we're seeing now. But this notion that like everything's always been okay, so that the injuries is just all it is. So when the injured players come back, it will be fixed. I don't buy into that. And I think that is where we're giving like the coaching side of it and the management side of it a pass. Because again, so DK says that's normal though. We were playing 3 games a week after the after the World Cup, Winter World Cup. I understand that, but that's still not an excuse. Like the players didn't just look tired. They didn't. Like at Man United, well, that's always going to be a problem then. We're always going to play 3 games a week. We always want to play 3 games a week. Man United should be in every single competition until the end. That's the aim. We want 50, 60 games a season. That's what we always want. So again, like I was talking to KG yesterday, I'm like, I feel like we're going into this thing where we're starting to, without actually realizing, accept lower. Like say it's okay. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
well, I think some of this is, and it's funny actually. I was talking to Marcel about this yesterday, and it was a bit of a continuation from the full view sort of debate the other day, and I was sort of saying, in my opinion, like, so you mentioned like the injuries or whatever. That's not something to be sort of pushed to one side. It's a valid reason. There's something, obviously that is something to be pointed out. Going, look, we've really suffered with injuries. Totally get that. That's fine. You talk about the mess that's going on above, 25%, all of that. That's a valid reason. Put that in there too. That's fine. But again, it doesn't mean that, as you mentioned, that the manager and the players are beyond reproach in the sense of, okay, well, that's going on, so just all the rest of it's just totally fine. It's not. And again, also criticizing the manager and saying some of these decisions you're making don't make a lot of sense, or some of the things you're coming out and saying don't make a lot of sense. That's not saying you want him to get his P45 tomorrow. Far from it. It's just saying that, again, as we're talking about players having accountability, everyone's got to have accountability. Manager, players, medical department, executives, owners, everyone. And nobody's beyond reproach when it comes to all of that too. So as you mentioned, with the injuries and stuff like that, ironically enough, our most affected area is our back 4. And you can say, look, everything starts from the back. You build up from the back. But ironically enough, when you watch United, even with the sort of mishmash back 4, it's not really defensively. I know we're conceding goals, but I look at the back 4, and most games you come out of it going, did they play that bad? You go, not really. They did the best they could. The biggest problem is, midfield, or your front 3, or your front 4, however you want to, if you include Bruno in that, or you include them in midfield. That's the biggest problem. And actually, in recent weeks, have they been really impacted by injury that much? Not really. You can say the right wing thing, cool. But at the same time, like, that's when you get into the manager and you go, hey, you still do have options there that aren't Bruno Fernandes on the right-hand side, and you're choosing not to play him there. You keep playing Bruno. You keep selecting Marcus Rashford. You keep playing Bruno Fernandes irrespective of position. Midfield, it still doesn't look like he's figured out where, what solution that is, despite some of them being players that he pushed for. Or I remember earlier on in the season, I always bring it back to that Spurs game where we finished up with a front three and everyone was not in their position. They're like their best position. Rashford was up front. Sancho was on the left, even though he prefers to be on the left, but we brought him for the right. And Bruno was on the right. And I looked at that and I went, they're all in the wrong area. Like again, that doesn't make any sense. And again, you can say injuries play a part of that. Totally get that. And again, it is a perfect situation. But as you point out, we haven't been playing well since late February, early March. And some of those injuries, a lot of them we didn't have at that point. We haven't been playing well for a while. And then, some of the things he'll come out and say in the media doesn't help his case. If he came out before the Manchester derby, why aren't you playing Varane and Reguilon? If he just went, it's fitness, we don't want to rush them back in. We've had quite a lot of injuries this season, blah, blah, blah. Then everyone would have gone, that's not ideal, but okay. When you say tactical, that's on you. You put the pressure on you. When people say, how do you get the confidence back in Marcus Rashford? And you say, play him every game and he plays the majority of the game. Then that is, I get it. You're backing the player and you're putting your arm around them. Totally understand
really
that.
Trying,
but you're backing yourself into a corner because when you're forced to eventually drop him, which he might be forced to do, you look like an idiot, basically, because you said you weren't going to do that a couple of weeks ago. And again, he's making certain things. He's then saying he's making a difficult situation even more difficult for himself. And again, that's not to say, get rid of him, sack him, because I think irrespective this season, if we finish 8th or something like that, or even lower, keep him. We've got to stick in the lane. We've got to just go, you know what? A bit like Arsenal with Arteta, and I know people will then go, it's not an apt comparison. I totally understand that. But eventually, Man United have just got to stick with something. And if it gets bad, it gets bad. Ineos, if they've got sporting control, they say, look, let's have a proper go with it next season with this new summer transfer window, with this new football committee or whatever. We've just got to stick with it. But again, just because we're sticking with it doesn't mean you can't criticize the manager for making weird decisions that don't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, big up to all the mods in there. Steffi Jenks is in there. Steph is in there. Good morning to you guys. Who else we got? Got Tabislow as usual, always here. And a lot of the members as well. Big up Kenny Fan TV. Aminor always here, produced by Palmeiras, which I'm going to get to the chats in a second as well. Looking for any other members that I can see here. Court Star as well is in here. Joe Blackman is here as well. So big up to everyone in the chat, and big up to everybody who's not a member as well, who's just in the chat having their say. I can see Chris in there, Deadly Mantis, Jay Mackin, CH. Who else have we got there? AA Sakis, DK, and Skiliano. So loads of people in the chat as well. It's not all about only being a member or only being a mod, etc., etc. The whole community is welcome. Big up to Jason Ramon as well. WJ Barrett is here. Loads of people are here. Yes, so big up to everyone in just having their say. Nam Green, I see you as well. Let's get the super chats out / members chats. Palmeiras is actually the latest member of the United View. So big up to you. Welcome to the family. And they also go on to say, big up UV crew. Hope you all are well. Had a feeling the dressing room leaks would start soon. The players are cheats and disgraces. WJ Barrett, thank you for coming through, bro. As always says, boy, this is quick. Beginning of the end for Defo. So I'll skip to that. Red Devils Down Under says, I'm fearful for Eric Ten Hag. Poor performances, leaks, players discontent, fan arguing, club backing the manager. This usually leads to managers getting sacked. Victor Masaka says, I was believing Ten Hag could turn it around, but then he abandoned his philosophy. That was the last straw. I can forgive losing games while sticking to what you believe in, but abandoning it, I can't forgive that. Jay says, players crying again. Leopards, I can say leopards. I don't know what they are. What that is. Leopards don't change their spots. WJ Barrett says the leaks only mean one thing. He's gone, guys. I was really feeling negative in a minute. Lil Yo says, kudos to you both being able to speak about this nonsense consistently. Can't lie, I choose not to think or I get annoyed. Yeah, I hear you on that. Matt Farley says, first 2 games, all fit, no Hoyland, played crap. Nottingham Forest, Shaw out, barely won. Arsenal, Varane, Shaw out, Hoyland on the bench, lost. Brighton, Varane, Shaw out, Bissaka on the bench, lost. Injuries not an excuse, no evidence, but no evidence we play better. Clark says, reality, Ten Hag is being tasked with getting a tune out of the same old faces. Every manager has failed at this. Rashford and old Co need to go. On that one, it's like half of that's true, but then the other half, he's bought in a lot of players.
Well, and this is
This
was an interesting one that, again, I was having the conversation with Marcel with yesterday, because he was saying, there's still players from, Ollie's era and Jose's era and Van Gaal's era and all this kind of stuff in the squad. But then I also pushed back to him. I said, well, any manager that goes into a job in the second year is not going to have 31 players of his own that he's brought in. It's illogical to think that. And some of the players you'll be happy with, and you'll be trying to say, for instance, he didn't bring in Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford, but you'd consider them to be Erik ten Hag players because he plays them every single week, and they've both got new contracts, and he made one of them the captain, and one of them's his star player last season, right? So you'd consider them Erik ten Hag players. I certainly would. And as you mentioned, that he has brought players in. You could argue that, and again, this gets to the bigger picture, that some of the players we shouldn't have spent that much money on. And had we not spent that much money on, we'd have the ability to get even more players in. There wouldn't be as huge an expectation on some of these players if their transfer fees weren't as high, because when they come in for a huge price, then the expectation is that they're going to deliver straight away, and they're never going to live up to those expectations. In addition to that, you would say, well, actually, if we'd have sold the players that we were meant to sell, we could have a more Erik ten Hag idealized squad, and maybe he wouldn't have to abandon his principles the way he's had to. And again, they're all valid points. That's not to be swept under the carpet at all. It's not. Now, also on the flip side of it, look, you don't always get exactly what you want. You don't always get exactly what you want. That's football. Sometimes that's the way things work out. So, but they are valid things. And again, this is sort of the new part of this. I've noticed that you have got these sort of two sides now going at each other, which is sort of, no, it's bigger. Ten Hag's got his, arms behind his back, which he does. But then you've got the other people that are saying, yeah, I get that, but that's not an excuse for him to be doing, the performances and some of the decisions to be doing what he's doing at the moment as well. And the thing is, I think with it is that nowadays, for a lot of people, things are so black and white. There's always one problem. There's always one answer. Last season, David De Gea is the problem. David De Gea is the problem. Not having a striker is the problem. Get a new goalkeeper, that's the solution. Get a striker, that's the solution. Sofian Amrabat, he's a solution. Kobbie Mainoo, when he comes back, he's a solution to that's the problem. And in reality, it's never just one problem. It's never just one solution. There are shades of grey. What's going on with Manchester United at the moment? Yeah, I mean, obviously the biggest, clearly the structural problem with the Glazers and all that kind of stuff. If they went tomorrow, we'd be in a far better position. It wouldn't necessarily solve our fortunes on the pitch immediately, because there's still a lot of work to be done with all that. That's clearly the biggest problem. But I think we get so fixated with one thing, don't we? Like if you'd have coming out last season, it was, for some people, just get a new goalkeeper and we'll be like 5 points off City. And then come to find out this season, that's not really the case. Or we just need a striker. Get a striker this season. That's it. That's all we need. And then come to find out, well, that's not really the case, because there are other problems. Yeah. Again, there's shades of grey involved in all of this. And that's why in this argument, both are right. And again, that's not even sitting on the fence. Both are right with with the assumptions that they're making.
It's just the truth.
Not to get away from the first story, them saying that they're worried about Ten Hag being too strict, what a load of rubbish. Because, if you're not playing well, you deserve to be criticised.
Exactly. Carlson says, our struggles start with the Martinez injury. Outside of the starters, the bench from 4 different managers, all playing counter-attack. Name an intelligent player he's trying to make concrete with Clay. And Levi says, everyone turning into those Arteta out people, so impatient, long-term keeper. Mount, Højlund, Martinez, injuries back, short-term pain, long game, saying just wait it out, be patient, don't turn into Ten Hag out and press the eject button. And because if we did do that now, it would be in a worse position. I'm absolutely
that's what I said. I still say if we finish
Can't get rid of Ten
And
Hag.
if we finish 10th, just we got to stay that lane and just literally we got to stick to it. That's all we can do. That I don't see many alternative options. People can point to, get De Zerbi in. De Zerbi would be fried in 10 minutes in this job. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they're worried about players, being upset because they're speaking harshly, De Zerbi, oh my, you kidding me?
Yeah.
We just got, again, stick to a lane. Hopefully the things above us get resolved and then injuries come back. Again, all of it. That's what we've just got to do.
United, we are, says dead owners, dead stadium, dead players. The whole of Man United have lost all ambition. We had Leicester's defense 5 years ago in our team against City. Just can't see a way out for a while, lads. And Carlson says, please name a time Ten Hag got his first choice.
Andre Onana.
Apparently Mason Mount. Apparently Anthony. Apparently, actually, Martinez was his second choice, but he really wanted him, though. Who else would have been his first choice? He wanted Malacia, just went straight in and bought him. Ericsson, he wanted. Obviously, he was free, but he still wanted him. Made sure he went.
Wanted Amrabat.
Wanted Amrabat, got him. How many else? What, there's a lot. That's a lot there. That's a lot. Højlund. Okay, say he wanted Kane, but Højlund was always one of the names we did definitely want to be a backup to Kane.
And also, again, this is when you have to be realistic. Like, don't get me wrong. And again, this isn't given because the response to this will be, you're giving John Murtough and Richard Arnold and the Glazers an out on this one. But at the same time, like in football, you do not always get top of the list. Like sometimes it just doesn't work.
You don't
like
always
that.
get it.
It just doesn't.
I just saw.
I get Frankie de Jong. Everyone knows you want Frankie de Jong.
Yeah. No, there are some. Listen, let's not do this, because I feel like this is just too easy to just say never gets his first choices. No manager ever does. I just saw Pep Guardiola put in big piece for Declan Rice. Then he went Arsenal. I just saw Liverpool try and get Lavia, try and get Caicedo. Didn't work. Try and get Lavia. Didn't work. I saw Arsenal try and get bloody Mudryk for ages. Didn't work. They got Trossard. I saw Arsenal try and get Caicedo in January. Didn't work. Like they got Jorginho instead. Like it happens all the time. All the time. Like, you know what I mean? I know we wanted Cody Gakpo. All right, it didn't happen. We ended up getting bloody Weghorst, really. So I get it. Like sometimes it's like it's not great to not get your first choices, but hardly any manager does.
Look, he wanted
of the time.
He wanted Harry Kane, and again, I find some of this ironic because I don't forget. Come the summer, there was a lot of people that didn't want Harry Kane in the fan base. I know I certainly did want Harry Kane. And to all those people that way, he's too old. There's no salon value, what we do and all this kind of stuff. Now, for them to say they wanted Harry Kane, I think is hilarious, by the way, because he's one of the best goal scorers of all time. One of the greatest English goal scorers of all time. But he wanted Harry Kane, certainly. He wanted Frankie de Jong, certainly. And again, I don't know if that says more about it certainly says something about, I guess, the transfer department. It says something about FFP and the financial situation we're in.
We didn't even have the money to do the whole package.
It just says a lot about where Man United are at the moment. To be honest with a couple of them, Frankie de Jong, why didn't we get him? He didn't want to come to United.
He didn't even want to come.
He didn't want to come to United because we're a mess and he loves Barcelona. So that's part of that too. We cannot ignore context when it comes to that one.
Yeah.
We wanted Frankie de Jong. He wanted Frankie de Jong. He pursued him all that summer. Ultimately, what was the problem? He didn't want to come. He didn't. Yeah. Cody Gakpo absolutely wanted to come. Guess what? We had no effing money. That's the Glazers' fault, and that's totally one that he wanted. Don't get me wrong with that. The Kim Min-jae one, I mean, I don't even know with that one, Bear, because all of those reports came from Italy that we were interested in him, and then we never put a bid in, and it was like, he's going to Bayern Munich. So I don't know if we ever wanted him, realistically.
I understand that. Andrea says we have Evans flex. He's 38. We were talking... sorry, here we go. We were talking about Kim Min-jae in the start of the window. I get that he doesn't have the first choice, but I can't see Evans being the second choice. Listen, I'm not saying that point is like completely invalid. I'm not saying that. I'm definitely not saying that because that is, and that's where it goes into. This is what I mean. Like that's where it goes into one of the other reasons why Man United's a mess. Yeah. So because of the ownership, because of the structure, because of the funds and the the lack of execution in the transfer market, we're shit in the market. So that affects the manager. That does affect the manager's choices. But that doesn't just give a pass for saying, make sure you get me Anthony when he's crap. It doesn't. It doesn't excuse saying, you know, hold out and let's get Mason Mount and give him the 7 shirt and the manager really believes in him and he's not using him. It doesn't excuse these things. It doesn't excuse that we spent 400 and something million, what we have actually spent. I know the club overpays, but the team don't know that much better. They don't excuse that. You can't just go, it's because he don't get his first choices. Okay, so that's it then. So we just, all right. So what, until he gets his first choices, then we can't, you know, what?
Well, and this is what, and again, this is what opposition fans mock us for, because when, for instance, we moan about stuff like this, they'll go, but you spent 200 million in the summer or whatever, you know, that's what they'll say. And again, there is context to it. I'm not saying that isn't the case, but also some of these players, for instance, Kim Min-jae is an example of, were we actually ever in for him? Or was that just, again, was that just paper talk?
Yeah,
was that just
exactly.
agents talking? Because we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. And I'm not saying, you go, so you're saying he wanted Johnny Evans over Kim Min-jae? No. And does that speak to the wider, bigger problem at Manchester United? Yes, certainly it does. And point this out too. If we'd been able to sell Harry Maguire, which I think he did want to do, then maybe we'd have Todibo, we'd have Benjamin Pavard, who clearly he wanted. And again, those are valid things to point out. But some of the players, sometimes it's like, oh, he wanted this, he wanted that, he wanted that. Did we even want him? Did we even want him in the first place? You
Exactly.
know, and again, people will point out, and it is true that it's not as if money hasn't been spent as well. And some of them are good players, you know, Mason Mount. And so you're saying you're Erik ten Hag out? No, it's still saying, again, it's not a pass, because still with the players that have been playing in the squad, still should be good enough to beat Crystal Palace at home, or not scraping by Brentford, you know, realistically. And I point to, once again, that in those games, the players that we're talking about, Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire, they weren't even the biggest problems.
No, they weren't. And that's the problem. And also, right, so as Chris just said there, but Anthony shouldn't have cost 80 million, Flex. We overpaid for him. We absolutely did overpay for Anthony. But let's be honest, it's not even all about the price. The price just makes things worse when you've paid more and they haven't been good. Let's just look at the quality of player. Even if we paid 40 or 50 million, we would have been saying, we paid 40 million for this guy. That's what we would have been saying. That would have been too much. Let's just look at the quality of signings.
He's got
the extra bit.
He's got a veto.
There you go.
They both
That's
have a
what I'm
veto.
saying.
He said it himself. They both have a veto over it. So if Erik ten Hag went, this is stupid, this is ridiculous, he could have said no. And you could say, well, eventually he just wants to get players through the door. And
it's valid in saying that hasn't worked so far. So you can criticize that. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't mean that, again, I keep reiterating this, that get out of my club, Erik ten Hag. That doesn't mean that. Just because you're looking at the decisions made thus far and coming to a sensible verdict on that, that doesn't mean that they have to go. That means you're saying, okay, it's like a school report. It's like saying, okay, well, room for improvement here. You need to improve this. You need to improve that. Not you're expelled from school. Like, that's what it's like. You got to look at the areas for improvement and call them out. Call it out. That's all that's happening here. Do you know what I mean? Not, well, from my part anyway. From my part, I know a lot of people, some people have gone, nah, forget it, can't see it, not for me. Do you know what I mean? And that's their opinion. That's their opinion. I'm not going to call them idiots. I'm not going to say you're not a fan, or if that's somebody's opinion, that's their opinion. It's not my opinion. It doesn't have to be your opinion, but don't let it offend you. If somebody thinks that Erik ten Hag is not the man, that's up to them. I disagree with that. I still think he can. I still think he can be. But in this sort of, analysis period where we get to look at what's going on and suggest ways to move forward, that's valid. Do you know what I mean? That's valid. Carlos says, I know we read that one. Nem Green says, do you think we have too many squad players? Too many players that are just not that good. Little bit. Like when me and KG broke down the squad yesterday, I saw you guys in the comments were sort of talking, saying, listen, yeah, it's good, fair points. When you look at our team, individuals, to like Villa's players right now, Newcastle players right now, some Brighton players right now, forget Liverpool, Arsenal, City, you know, Spurs right now, way off. Way
Well,
off.
and part of the problem I think with the squad also as well is that the drop off is big. The drop off is big, and look, and some of them he didn't want. That's when you
Yeah,
get into recruitment. That is absolutely valid.
yeah.
Absolutely valid. He would be looking at some of those players. I didn't want some of these players. I wanted you to get rid of some of these players. We could bring players in. Totally understand that. And again, they are absolutely valid things. But I think what has frustrated a lot of people, and certainly for me, was an eye opener is that when those comments of saying, we're never going to play the Ajax style of football, and there's been a lot of interpretation of that. People are saying, no, what he means is this. He's saying that you can never play exactly the same because you don't have exactly the same players, and it's the DNA of the club, etc. But I think everyone, throughout this sort of this tough part that we're going through, the expectation was we're going to get to that point. We're going to get football that looks similar, maybe not exactly the same, but similar to what he was doing at Ajax. And for him saying, "Oh, we're never going to do that," it's kind of like, then why? What are we doing? What's the idealized version of what we're getting to? So I again, my hope is with those comments, it's a bit like, oh, he just means literally. We're not going to have literally the exact same football because different players, different qualities. Because I can't wrap my head around if he would just completely no, we're not going to do any semblance to that. That's just
Just a little bit off topic. The Mirror they've just put out that Man United would need to cough up more than 15 million to sack Erik ten Hag. They're just putting that out there, probably just as a note, because some people, especially online now, it's getting very, oh yeah, should he be here? Listen, Ten Hag's not going to get sacked anytime soon. Yeah, partly because of that. To be fair, partly because of that. 15 million, got to give him that. But also, Man United do not have a plan that doesn't involve Erik ten Hag right now. Man United are incapable right now of having a plan. And also, what is better right now? Sack him tomorrow. What do you do? What do you do? Put Darren Fletcher in control for a couple of games while you look for someone? What do you do?
Steve McLaren. I don't.
Put Steve McLaren for a couple of games, then go and get De Zerbi for loads of money. Then he comes and look how he talks about Trossard when it goes wrong. Look how he talks. The Jadon Sancho thing. If that happened to De Zerbi, listen.
Moises Caicedo. What's the latest Moises? I've already forgotten him.
Mad. Then he done the Levi Colwill thing. He was like, yeah, he needs to make up his mind what he wants to do. Does he want to come here? Does he want to, Now, and again, at the start, we said it with Eric. We're like, yeah, we love a manager who says it as it is. Cuss the players. Tell them they're idiots. They're this, they're that. Then as soon as he's done it a little bit to Jadon Sancho, now we're getting, Streddy's eating in the other canteen. What do you want? Do you want standards or do you not want standards?
And also, again, this is when it does get to the wider, bigger issue, is anyone would fail at United. Yes. We've proven that. We've had some of the greatest managers ever step through the door in the last decade, whether it's Jose Mourinho, Syria winner, Louis van Gaal, won it all too, right? We've tried everything. Get the ex-player
in. Careful, man.
We do the shiny new toy thing. As I've said, it's this season, and this isn't to write it off, because here's hoping we can turn it around, we can play better, we can still qualify for Europe, get in the Champions League, who knows, right? But it's going to be tough this season. There's evidence there. Like, the idea that we're going to go on like a 15-match winning streak from here is pretty unlikely, right? Yeah. But at the same time, we just got to stick the course. That is still my belief. We just have to stick the course. Hopefully, and again, this is the hopium, the copium, and maybe I'm the insane one because I'm thinking that things are going to be different and we're going to get different results. Hopefully, if Ineos do secure 25% and they have sporting control, then maybe things will get better above Ten Hag and he'll get some better tools to help facilitate and do what he wants to do. And maybe in the transfer market will operate better and that will help him in some of these issues that people have pointed out. We'll be able to sell players. I don't know. And we'll get people back from injury and it won't be as bad because it's true. When we do get people back from injury, it's hopefully not going to be as bad. Frankly, if he does get all the players back and nothing changes, that's when you really have to start saying, look, this ain't good at all. Exactly. So I just think, again, even if we finish, if we have no European football next season, tough. Stick with the guy,
Got to see
and
it
that is
through.
it.
Got to see it
But
through.
at the
But
same
he does have
time,
to change stuff.
exactly, yeah, exactly. At the
That's what
same
we're saying.
time, that's not to say that he gets a blind pass, because I don't think anyone should. No,
Exactly.
you can't go through life. It's all right.
Exactly. You can't. Kuno says Flex sometimes sounds negative, and this is our players, especially on rival channels. He needs to back them more and defend them more on those platforms. And this is the thing, like, big up to you, Cunha, for that's where you're at on this. I just disagree, man. Like, I've been on videos like someone said earlier. I said Bruno's better than Madison. I said Rashford's better than Martinelli. I said Varane's still better than Saliba. I said that flipping Casemiro is the best DM in the league. Like, I've been there. Like I said on the Flexing KG show, I'm not now trying to remove myself from like where I'm saying like we've gassed up players and stuff. I'm saying me. So when I've been positive like that, it comes a realization, Cunha, where you go, I was wrong. Or in this moment, I can't stand by that, what I thought 6 months ago, or when I was trying to be positive and see the bright side. Sometimes it rears its head and slaps you in the face, and you have to go, oh, bloody hell, I'm seeing this for what it is at this moment. Hopefully we can be something else later. But right now, we are this. And when I just think it's important that when that happens, for me to just, again, I know I keep saying cool it out, but that's just what I'm doing. I'm just saying what you see. Catchphrase settings.
Good
Say
is
what you
not good
see.
enough, and it's
Good
not
is not
good.
good enough. The manager says it.
And it's not good. And it's not
And
good.
it's not good. There you go. Even if, like you said, Owen, that's a good point. Even if you simplify it down to what the manager's, favorite catchphrase is. But we've spent so long on that, we didn't even get to this bit. Matifalu says, hold on a sec. Hold on. Let me go back up a little bit. Now I'm good. Charleston says, a child says they want candy. Who's responsible? As in, it's the parents, the people above that. Matifalu says, first, second, or 10th choice, show a style of play. And when we see it's not working with those players, we point to the guys above you. Simple. That's no excuse. Kind of see what you're saying there. United Community Channel says, Eric Ten Hag needs to be backed correctly. How many first choice targets has he got? He needs time to get rid of the players he wants to get rid of players he wants to and implement his style. Butterbean, I remember him as a boxer. Says Spurs wouldn't sell Harry to a Premiership club.
That's another important point. Spurs were
Yeah,
not going to. They weren't going
exactly.
to
They're
sell him.
probably exactly. And if we would have spent all summer trying to negotiate and then Levy kept pulling our pants down, we didn't get a striker. Everyone would have went mad. Levy says Ten Hag had a strong hand this season after last season. Think he's pushing hard for what he wants now, and players pushing back, breaking eggs. Yeah, and that. So, but on to because we haven't got long. We were supposed to do this a lot earlier, but on to Eric Ten Hag. Well, we've kind of been talking about Ten Hag, but his quotes with what he said about he certainly can turn this around.
Yeah, so he said, and again, this is ahead of tonight's Carabao Cup clash. Easy for me to say, at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
He said, quote, while this has not been the start to the season that we all had hoped for, I am certain that we have the talent and attitude as a collective to move in the right direction. I believe that it is only a matter of time before we are showing our true selves. It will come, I am certain. Will it come, Flex?
I hope so.
Look, it's one of those
I can't
things
say I'm certain.
He
He has to back what he's doing. Again, how we said some of them Ajax comments and we went a little bit, that's if he sat there and said, well, will the good times ever return? Do I think we could turn around? Time will tell. We'll have to see. But I don't want to hear that. I want to hear you have belief in yourself and what you're doing. Of course, I'm going to say, well, mate, you need to pick this person. You need to do that. It's not working now, is it? Is that in those situations, because it's shit and we're losing, and we're not playing well, he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. But you still have to be damned if you do. Don't be damned if you don't. You're damned either way, but be damned if you do back yourself, because if you don't back yourself, I think that's worse. I think if he comes out and says, we're obviously in a bad moment and I don't know if players will respond how I want them to, we'll have to wait and see. So if he said something like that, we're going, that's your job. It's your job to get them going. It's your job to turn this around. What do you mean you don't know? You don't want to hear that. He might be thinking that. I don't know. But I need to hear him in public at least say, we have the quality. I believe in this team and we will turn around. Huh?
I've got to go to the door.
Oh, yeah. He's got to go answer the door. Yeah, he did say that would happen. His food shops, Owen's food shops, just do a madness. That's just, he orders them for certain times. Do you ever get this? You order your food shop with whoever, whether it's Asda, Ocado, Tesco, whatever, whoever it is, Sainsbury's, and you say you want it to come at this time, and then they'll message you, and then they'll say, "Oh, you need it to come at this time. We're coming now." It's like, well, no, the whole reason I've got the slot is for this. But yeah, that's where Owen's gone. But yeah, I think Ten Hag has to say that, guys. Do you know what I mean? We can't have a situation. Imagine if he comes out and says he ain't sure about his own work and he doesn't know when he can fix what's going on. I'm gonna go mad. We're gonna be like, this guy's out of his depth. He's clueless. What's he saying? Look what he said even about the Ajax thing the other day. We were like, that's a bit mad. That we kind of need you to play some of that, and you have players from Ajax, like you're trying to implement that style and your style. So I think it is strong. It is fighting talk from Ten Hag, and right now he needs fighting talk. He needs a reaction. He needs to be aggressive. Some may argue he needs to be a little less aggressive to certain people, to certain players. Some players may argue he needs to be less aggressive, less assertive, less strict, all those things. But essentially, him and Mitchell van der Gaag, that's the people who are, fundamentally, it's them two as a duo. They got to get in their bag. They got to get in their bag, because if he carries on how he is, if he carries on doing what he's doing, he's going to die on that sword. Do you know what I mean? Because as much as me and Owen just said, literally 100%, you keep Ten Hag. If we finish 10th, that's going to have to happen. Write the season off, and we're basically making ourselves accept lower. But you can't just have a free pass of going into 3-4, losing loads of football matches. Because let's be honest, this isn't rock bottom. That's another thing I will say. This ain't rock bottom. This is what you call scraping along. Like I said, before that City game, where we were probably always going to lose, we won 3 games in a row. We scraped 3 games in a row. We didn't win them convincingly, but we got 9 points on the board. Yeah, different competitions, but we got 3 in a row. So he's scraping by. That's what he kind of needs to do now, is scrape by and just get points on the board to keep it respectable, so we can buy more time on the other side of it, i.e. players coming back by January, having a full set of squad to available to choose from, etc., etc. Owen, you're safe and sound.
Yeah, running up the stairs. I tell you what, as well, Asda's a disgrace. I've got work to do in the morning, yeah? 9 to 10, I know that's when the show's going to happen and all that kind of stuff. 10 to 11 is when I book my slot early. Every time, early or late.
I explained for you. I told them. Yeah, I told them.
And now I can't breathe because I've run the stairs.
Yeah, you get your breath back. Flex. Jonathan says, Flex, this ain't rock bottom. Honestly, Jonathan, I don't think it is. Rock bottom would be, it feels like rock bottom because City just mashed us up. But City are way better than us. They mash us up even if we're playing well. Rock bottom is like, we would have lost to Copenhagen. We would have lost to Brentford at home. We would have lost that game to Sheffield United away. All them games we scraped by, their losses. That's what's even lower than this. Don't get me wrong. Who said that? Colin. Was it Colin? Jonathan, sorry. Why did I say Colin? Don't get me wrong, Jonathan. There ain't much lower to get. I agree with you there, bro. But in terms of saying, like, this is rock bottom, that's why I'm saying it's not. Because I'm telling you now, rock bottom is loss. Like when Chelsea were doing the free fall thing with what's his face? Potter. And then obviously it happened to Lampard, but they just knew they was going to get a new manager this year. So it can't, listen, rock bottom is not far away. I'm not arguing over like we're way better than rock bottom, because we're not. There's probably only one level. We're probably only one level above rock bottom. But like I said, we got 3 wins out of 3 in the last 3 games before that, because we can kind of like ugly scrape by, uninspiring, no longevity in it, just scrape. But it will run out. And when it does run out, that will be rock bottom. I do agree with that, Jonathan.
Yeah, like we've been doing the season, basically, like you said, is those games that we should be winning just about. But then away from home, it's going to get rough. Like I was talking to Marcel, like I said the other day, we've got some horrible away games coming up before the close of the year. Just before Christmas, we got Liverpool and Anfield. That could be a disaster.
Yeah, that's when it's going to be rock bottom. Yeah.
Again, that's my worry. Like, we're operating at a 50% hit rate this season. We've played 10, we've lost 5, we've drawn 5. We're not even getting draws. We're not even like, that. Remember last season, a couple of draws, and we're like, if only we could score goals or all this kind of stuff. It's not even that. It's like we're either winning or we're losing convincingly. You know what I mean? We either get pretty smashed or we just scrape through. And that basically means that the season is going to be like this the whole time, up and down on a week-to-week basis. So,
which will probably level out at about a par, which is why we'll finish around.
Wow. That'll level out about mid-table. That's like mid-table stuff. If you win half your games, you'll probably be about mid-table. That's about it. So, that's why it's going to be a roller coaster.
Yeah, it certainly is. It is match day. I think
got to defend our trophy. Rematch of the Carabao Cup final. Manchester United versus Newcastle United. Old Trafford under the lights. 8:15. Kickoff, not 8 o'clock. 8:15 kickoff.
Why are they doing that?
I don't know. They want it for TV.
Yeah, I do. Listen, we could easily lose tonight. We could easily win.
Come on, Flex. Come on.
I feel like the fact that Newcastle will make a lot of changes will help us. We won't face like the strongest version of Newcastle that are ready. Like if this was a Premier League game, even at home, and they had everyone fit. And they weren't, sort of managing the schedule they've got to manage. We could easily get rinsed off Newcastle easily with the intensity in which they play at. But having said that, like I said, I spoke to Matty Renton, because their squad is thin, a lot of their starting players will still need to play. Probably people like Bruno Guimaraes. The front line they've got is pretty much all they have. Their bench is made up of centre-backs and full-backs. So when you're looking at Almiron, Gordon, and Wilson, that's pretty much going to be the team. When you're looking at the midfield, because like Elliot Anderson's injured, I saw they haven't really got anything else apart from Tonali's banned. They haven't really got anything else apart from maybe Willock could come in, and other than that, Joe Linton and bloody Longstaff and Guimaraes is what they've got. I think their biggest changes will come at the back, where they can bring in Dubravka, they can bring Lewis Hall in, they can bring in what's his face, Dummett. You know what I mean? Players like Jacob Murphy's injured. Do you know what I mean? So they're very, very thin. They're very, very thin. So that will play into our hands because that team has to keep going. You saw against Wolves, they sort of tired out a little bit. High octane game they lost against Thingy just before that. Dortmund. They got Arsenal on the weekend. They got to be ready for that. And then straight after that, a few days later, they've got to go to Dortmund again. So that rotation will help it not be the best version of Newcastle. But can you rely on Man United to say there'll be a good enough version of Man United to exploit that?
Ironically enough, when we play a rotated team, it might actually be a better version of Manchester United. Our best performance has been the Carabao Cup this season with a lot of the bigger players not playing. So,
how many changes do you think he makes? Do you think he'll do it like how Crystal Palace was? There's quite a few changes. Or because we lost the Manchester Derby, he'll try and,
defensively. So I would expect Reguilon to come back in now. Yeah. I don't necessarily think Varane might play actually again. It might be a case we save him for the weekend.
Yeah. 12,
he might do a case. He might save him for the weekend. So that's probably realistically the only change in defense. Maybe he plays Lindelof and Maguire instead of Evans and Maguire because obviously Reguilon will be playing. Midfield, we could see quite a few changes in there. Maybe Casemiro comes back. Maybe Casemiro comes back. I would expect Mason Mount. Maybe that same midfield that played in against Crystal Palace, which was what? Mount, Casemiro, and it was Hannibal.
Oh yeah, it was that. Yeah.
And then on the left, Garnacho. On the left, Garnacho. On the right, Palestri. Up front, probably be Martial. It will be Martial. Hoyland's not going to play.
Martial's got to play. Yeah, Martial's got to play. I know KG was like, Hoyland needs goals, though, because he's not scoring.
No,
he needs to get going, but can't rinse him out, man. Can't rinse out the kid. Like that, if that back injury starts coming back again. And, ironically, there's different qualities that Martial does offer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is. I know I'm not saying he needs to stay and renew his contract. Doesn't mean. So you're saying it's not 50 million.
So you're saying.
Yeah. But when fit, he can provide us with a different alternative. And, we need to freshen it up. Yeah. Smash the like on the video. I will get a road trip to you guys. By the way. Missing one super chat. I will get to that. There you go. That's from Sam. I believe we need a team of James Milners. Easy there. I get where you're going to go with this. Players who aren't particularly flashy, but will always put a decent shift in, fight to the end. Exactly. I thought you'd go that direction. Hear Sam out. So you're saying, Sam, right?
Yeah.
That James Milner is basically a Ballon d'Or level player and we should have 11 of him. No, Sam is not saying that.
Yes, he's saying
Sam
that.
is
Sam's
not.
saying exactly that.
Yeah, Sam is not saying that. Sam is saying the attitude, though, just to never say die, just put it in. If we had more players with the right attitude, we
Sam
would be
is
a
saying,
better
buy James Milner 100 million
team. 11
euros.
times.
Yes.
Yeah, there'll be a road trip. Obviously, the match view today. Hopefully, YouTube doesn't bug out like it did the other day, and there will be a full-time match view, Owen, where members can have their say live here on United View from around the world. And there will be reaction from the game as well at Old Trafford. So, yes, hopefully, this is a day where we go through. Going to be very uncomfortable. I don't know what's going to happen. I predicted 1-1 and we go through on penalties, but probably going to lose. Don't know. Sorry to sound negative.
Oh,
Sorry.
Flex. End it properly. We're going to win.
Peace.
Oh.